Given the investment the Green Bay Packers have made in the offensive line, the play has not been good enough. But here, down the stretch, the Packers offensive line has to perform if Green Bay wants to make a run.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you here on the number one sports podcast network. That is, of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, go to FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Zhao joins us on the show today to talk a Broncos loss, of course, the Micah Parsons injuries, the other key player injuries. We look forward to the Chicago Bears in a monstrous spot, not just the monsters of the Midway, on Saturday night. But let's start with the offensive line, because Zach Tom's injury should not have been as disastrous to this team as it was. And that should have also been the case against the Cleveland Browns. And there have been too many times this year. Now, part of that is Aaron Banks has been hurt and Zach Tom has been hurt. But the whole point of having the deepest offensive line in the league is that when you have injuries, you can make it work. And not just make it work, but make it work at a high level. Like, I do still think Darian Kinnard is one of the better sixth offensive linemen, certainly third tackles in the NFL. He can play guard, he can play tackle. Anthony Belton is proving he just slots right in at right guard, plays well. Sean Rhyan just slots right in and plays fine at center. But if you go in and you're just fine, maybe the depth is not quite what you needed it to be. And especially if you go in and you play fine and it seems like an upgrade, well, then it turns out your starters were just not as good as we thought they were. The combination of Sean Rhyan and Jordan Morgan at right guard turned out to be bad. And the fact that Sean Rhyan is essentially replicating the production of Elgton Jenkins means that Elgton Jenkins was not the player we thought he could be. We thought he could be, Brian Gutekunst said he could be, an all-pro center. I thought he could too. Guess we were wrong. Rasheed Walker has not played to his standard this year. Aaron Banks has been hurt, but they were supposed to have better answers than this. In a big game, if your depth doesn't hold up, then your depth doesn't matter. Because you're going to need them in those big spots in a key moment, like this week against the Chicago Bears. If Zach Tom can't go, where are the answers? And what's even more frustrating than that, because if you look at the numbers, like Ben Baldwin does these composite indexes of like, okay, if you take what Pro Football Focus does and Sports Info and Solution charts, how do these offenses match up? And the Packers offensive line is consistently a top 10 pass blocking group now that everybody's healthy. Now that, Aaron Banks is healthy. Zach Tom has been, banged up, but he's been mostly healthy now. They're a top 10 group. And that's kind of what we thought they would be. Not the elite of the elite, but solid. What we thought would happen with Aaron Banks in there and with some of the changes along the interior is that this run blocking group would be much better. And it's just not. It's just not. If anything, it's worse. And what is particularly frustrating about that is you have this player in Jordan Morgan who spends the preseason and training camp splitting time at left tackle and right guard, engaged in a positional battle at left tackle that was rigged from the start. He was never unseating Rasheed Walker short of injury. So why did you waste time doing that? When once the season starts, he's going to compete in a timeshare to play right guard, where if had he just practiced and camped all July and August at right guard, maybe he wins that job outright. Now, it seems like that wouldn't have been the case because he's maybe just not a right guard, maybe just not a guard at all. He looked good at left tackle, and it didn't matter. Anthony Belton, the questions early, as soon as he was drafted, the assumptions from basically everyone was this is an offensive lineman who plays tackle and is going to be a guard. I said I'd like to see him play tackle. I thought he played well enough early in the season to stay at tackle, but he's playing guard now. And he looks right now, at least, like he might have been the best right guard on this team, at least this year. Why was that not happening in training camp? Why was Jordan Morgan being cross-trained and being asked to play a million positions, but not Anthony Belton? When now Anthony Belton is playing this other position. And why, from the outside, should we have any faith in this coaching staff to make these decisions the right way? Tell me why. Show me the evidence. Because it has been mistake after mistake after mistake. For as good as they have been at finding these gems, Rasheed Walker is a no doubt home run 7th round pick. Zach Tom is a no doubt home run day 3 offensive lineman to turn into a second contract, near top of the market right tackle kind of player. He's a really good player. But you've invested so much more than that in this offensive line. We were sold on the idea that Elgton Jenkins was going to be this great upgrade from Josh Myers. Josh Myers, by the way, just got a new contract in New York. Has been really solid for the Jets. But you go back, 2019, Elgton Jenkins not starting over Lane Taylor. The decisions late in the year in 2020, in 2021, to not roll with what was working in 2021, to make the switch to, well, we're actually just going to flip this all on its head. The Royce Newman experiments. I don't have any idea what was happening in 2021 for long stretches and the decisions that were made there. Why was Zach Tom in 2022? Why was he playing right guard? Why was he not starting? They just have not consistently put these guys in a position to succeed. And I don't know, why would we have faith that they're going to start doing it? Like, they've, in a way, been lucky that Brian Gutekunst has just found guys who can play and play multiple spots. That's like part of the whole thing with Brian Gutekunst is you find a guy who can play tackle, and then if he's a guard, you can slide him, or if he's not a tackle, you can at least try him at guard. That's kind of saved this team because they have not consistently put the guys in the right spots. Now, do they get credit for some of that development? I think sure they do. But if you can't put the guy, like the first thing is, are the guys playing the right position? How do you develop a player if you've got him playing out of position? How do you develop Anthony Belton at right guard if he's playing right tackle? It's a different position. And it's not just like Madden where you can just go, oh, nope. It's not like on your computer, you can just rename the file. Nope, that's a JPEG now. Can't do that. Different body types, different rules, different situational awareness, different spatial awareness. It's a whole different position, it turns out. Just because it's the same side of the line, okay. There's a lot that goes into those kinds of changes. The pass sets are different. The pre-snap set is different. So it's frustrating here. But guess what? The Chicago Bears can't rush the passer. The Baltimore Ravens, they've got to blitz to bring pressure. They do not have those one-on-one guys that are going to win consistently, especially on the edge. And the Vikings, they just shut down Jonathan Grenard. He's having surgery. You need to get this figured out, whether that's Jordan Morgan getting some opportunities at left tackle with Rasheed Walker. I think this would be the week to do it. You have to protect Jordan Love. In the run game, they're going to be fine in the run game. Josh Jacobs is going to make it work. You have to protect Jordan Love. The Packers lost to the Broncos. Not because of injuries, not because of Micah Parsons, because they could not in the second half protect Jordan Love. Now, part of that was injuries, right? But you're supposed to be equipped to deal with that. Where was the big personnel from Matt LaFleur? They weren't ready for that. They weren't ready to play Jordan Morgan and Darian Kennard together if Zach Tom went out. That's a problem. You assume that they're going to be ready to do that this week, especially given how successful the jumbo offensive line looks were for the Packers against the Bears the first time around. But just because that would be a smart thing to do doesn't mean they're going to do it. This team is going nowhere fast if this doesn't get better and fast, in a hurry. Anthony Belton is going to have to grow up. Rasheed Walker is going to have to play better. Zach Tom is going to have to get healthy. And this coaching staff has got to do a better job of getting these guys in the right spots, in a position to succeed. Because they wasted a lot of time in camp. They wasted a lot of time this year pretending Anthony Belton was a tackle when it looks like, at least for this team right now, he's a guard. And they wasted a lot of time on Jordan Morgan being a tackle just to play him at guard when it turns out he might be a tackle. So I don't even know what to make of all of that. But you got to get it figured out. You got to get it tightened up, and you got to play your best football these final 3 games and into the postseason if you win enough games to get there. Because if you do that, Jordan Love is playing at the kind of level where he gives you a chance every time you strap it up. All right, Lily Zhao next on Locked On Packers. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps get you clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions you don't need anymore, you don't use anymore, or maybe you forgot you were paying for, and helps you clean them up quickly. Having the app find good times to save each month keeps you consistent with your financial goals. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks for making Locked On Packers your first listen today, and thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now it's time to level up and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Packers with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonpackers.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. It was a kick in the teeth and a punch in the stomach on Sunday in the Mile High City, the Green Bay Packers falling to the Denver Broncos and losing half their team in the process, unfortunately. Lily Zhao from Fox 6 in Milwaukee. The vibes are not high right now. Lily, how you doing?
Yeah, the vibes are definitely not high. They're not immaculate at the moment, which is unfortunate. But, outside of that, I'm battling a cold, so I'm not even doing that well either. But I'm hoping everybody else is doing well, so that'll make me feel better. But, I'm doing okay. Is that how you're doing?
I'm also battling a bug, as is everyone in my family right now, seemingly. So everyone that is dealing with something, which is seemingly everyone at all times, we hope you're feeling better soon for sure. And I guess we have to start with Micah Parsons. We hope he's feeling better soon. It's not going to matter for the Green Bay Packers 2025 NFL season, though, Lily. Can you remember a time since you were covering this team, or just a fan of sports, that you can remember a moment like this where a team this late in the season that looked like a true championship contender has one injury and you just go, I don't know if they can do it anymore?
Yeah, I can't really put a finger on that answer, but I can tell you just the general feeling, I think it's the obvious one. Packers, Seahawks, that NFC Championship game. It was a feeling
You had to bring up
that.
Packers, Seahawks, didn't you?
I know. It just was a feeling of you're riding high. Things are going well, and all of a sudden it's not.
Yeah.
But I mean, that one was for all the marbles. It's been
Well,
talked
that
about
was a
ever
game
since.
too. Like that's a different
It's
feeling,
a
right? Like
game.
you
Yes.
lost the game. You didn't play well enough to win ultimately. This was just like a fluky non-contact injury
Yeah.
in a game that doesn't ultimately mean that much in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about losing David Bakhtiari. I think that
Yeah.
changed the course of a lot of things. So, but that would be like the equivalent of losing Aaron Rodgers for a season when he broke his collarbone. I
Right.
mean, it was kind of like that because Micah Parsons is a caliber player like that where they're not replaceable on the roster. You can kind of get through some other injuries, and that's no knock on those other guys that are out, but it's a Jordan Love, Micah Parsons. You can't replace those guys on your roster situation, and you lost one of your top two guys and one of the best guys in the NFL at that as well. And so it's a big loss that they cannot overcome. But that being said, it's not like they don't have guys in the locker room who are talented, who will compete, who will rally this weekend. So you can't count out this team, but it's certainly just, can they do it? Can they find a way to rebound? Because this is a massive game coming up on Saturday. So they're going to have to find a way. But when you lose a player of his caliber, I mean, that's just tough all around.
It shook the team. I mean, Matt LaFleur, according to Michael Silver, is coming off the field with basically tears in his eyes. Rashawn Gary getting choked up in the locker room talking about, I mean, we have to remember these are people and they have worked for months to get to this point. You get Micah Parsons, it propels you into a stratosphere that you might not have otherwise been, and to have it all just evaporate in a moment, just to have Micah come off the field. He's such an impactful player. I mean, I think you can make the case that he's one of the 5 or 10 best players in the NFL, period, regardless of position, right? Like taking the positional value piece out of this. So I was actually talking to our Locked On Bengals host the other day, and he was saying he's talked to Zach Taylor because the Packers played the Bengals earlier this year, right? And he was like, Zach Taylor hated game planning for the Packers because Micah Parsons is just such a problem, and they just don't have anybody to pick up the slack. So what's the workaround here? Is there someone you think needs to step up? Is it they need to blitz more? All of the above? Like, what do you see as next steps here for the Packers?
I think it's all of that. I think it's, obviously you go into the season as a defensive coordinator and Jeff Hafley with a plan, with a scheme, with, where your guys are going to be on your defense. Now that's completely thrown out the window. But that being said, they had a
6
plan.
months planning for this team,
Right, planning for this team. Right. But that being said, they weren't planning for this team during training camp, during the offseason. And so they have contingency plans, as they should. But I think a big, amount goes on Jeff Hafley of what can you do with your defense now. I think you have to blitz more. I think you have to have your younger guys step up and produce more now that Micah's not there. But you have to generate pressure. You just see that the difference with this defense when they don't generate pressure is when they're just not at their best. And so it's going to be really on his shoulders to figure out how they can do that. But they need everybody else, obviously, along that front seven to really step up.
Yeah. You want to be a head coach, Jeff Hafley? Here's your opportunity to show that you are that kind of guy, not just as a schemer of defense, but as someone who can rally the troops, because they're going to need their leaders here, Lily. Like, you're going to need Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney and all those guys to keep this team together, because it would be easy to go, oh, well, better luck next year, I guess. Now, that's not how football players tend to think, especially just because the sport is so violent. You have to keep playing hard. They kept playing on defense. I don't want that to get lost. Like, they got 2 key stops late that gave the offense a chance to go tie the game. And like, those were big plays in all of this. We got some updates from Matt LaFleur, some of the other Packer players who were hurt. Christian Watson, that was a big one. Zach Tom, that was a big one. Evan Williams, that was a big one. We don't really have clarity on if those guys are going to get a chance to play on Saturday. All of them were DNPs on Tuesday, though the Packers didn't actually practice. If you could pick one and say that guy is going to be healthy Saturday, and that will be the key for the Packers to win, it is whomst?
It's between 2 guys in my head, but I will say, as much as I think Christian Watson is a bear killer, I think you have to have Zach Tom back. I think you have to protect Jordan Love. This Bears defense will get after him. We know what they can do in terms of taking the ball away. But if you can protect Jordan Love, we saw how good he was in that first half against the Broncos.
Yeah.
You lose Zach Tom in the second half, and that pass rush eventually got through. So I think for this team, if they want to match the Bears on the ground, they want to protect Jordan Love, they got to get Zach Tom back and healthy. Again, it's to be seen. So if it's not him, it's Darian Kennard. It's, can they step up there? But I think you want to have Zach Tom back in this game. I'd love to have Christian Watson back too, but if I'm picking one, I'm picking Tom.
I think that's the right call, by the way. I think they have better answers at receiver behind Christian Watson than they do at tackle. And I think they have better answers at safety. I think they'll consider moving Javon Bullard back to safety, put Nate Hobbs in the slot. I think that makes a lot of sense rather than play Zane Anderson and keep Nate Hobbs off the field. They just don't like Darren Kennard is a nice backup tackle. He's a really good sixth offensive lineman, but Zach Tom is like a Pro Bowl right tackle. There's just no replacing that in all of this. I want to ask you about the offensive line, Lily, because I think it has gone a little bit under the radar. They are paying Zach Tom a lot of money. They are paying Elton Jenkins a lot of money. They paid Aaron Banks a lot of money. They used a first-round pick on Jordan Morgan. They used a second-round pick on Anthony Belton. And I understand he's playing out of position now. What do you make of the return on investment that they have gotten in this offensive line? Because I look at it and I go, I was expecting this offensive line to take a step forward in a way that I just have not seen this year.
Yeah, I think it was, we went into the season and the way they performed against the Lions and the Commanders is I think the trajectory we thought they would have the rest of the season. I mean, I think they were at their best in week one. And then, Zach Tom goes down with an injury and then you're switching guys and rotating guys in and out for a majority of the season. And now without Elton Jenkins, you're moving Sean Ryan to center. Anthony Belton's really stepped up at right guard, but now with Zach Tom, his injuries situation, what do we do there with Darren Kennard? So to answer your question, I thought that after the first 2 weeks, it would be an upward projection for those guys, but not to say that they haven't, given it their all. I know they're playing really hard, but I think we expected a lot more from this offensive line for how much they did put into it this offseason. We all know they love to draft guys up there. They like to spend money up there to protect their quarterback. But in terms of just the run blocking, sometimes it's like they're getting overpowered by opposing defensive lines. Yeah. It really hasn't been up to par, and I'm sure the guys would say the same thing.
All right, let's dig into this matchup with the Bears on Saturday night, coming up here with Lily Zhao next. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. The Packers, 1.5-point favorites still in Chicago, even with all the injuries, even with all the uncertainties. In fact, the juice has even shifted a little bit. Now the Packers minus 112 on the money line. I believe they were minus 110 earlier. And might have been minus 115. Still, there's action on this game. The juice is heavy on the Bears to cover that 1.5 at minus 120. So this is going to be a fun game to live bet. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your first live NFL bets. Do it all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. They probably would. And like the pass blocking has been about what it was last year. If you look at some of the underlying metrics, the PFF grades, those kinds of things, they're a top 10 pass protecting unit. They're good. They're not great. And they're a bottom 10 run blocking unit. Like that passes the eye test, right? Like they're not a great run blocking team. When they do get those like chunk plays, like the Josh Jacobs touchdown, that's beautiful. They don't get enough of those. And I don't know what to attribute that to. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's development. I don't know if that's Brian Gutekunst not picking the right players. It's probably a combination of all of those things just because that's how this normally works. But the fact that Jordan Morgan can't even get on the field for an offensive line that's not playing its best, that's not ideal. Do they need to find a way to rotate him in? Does he need to give Rasheed Walker some run here? Like, is there something else? Is there another lever to pull here, you think?
I think so. I mean, Matt LaFleur says it every week. It's every position. There's always a competition every week. It's not outside of Jordan Love. Nothing's really cemented. So there will be competition on the offensive line. I know, Rasheed Walker didn't have his best game penalty wise against the Broncos. I know he'd like to have 4 of those penalties back. So would it hurt to have Jordan Morgan rotate in? I don't think so. But the question is, will they do it? I know they found, a nice answer there with Anthony Belton on the right guard position. But do you now try Jordan Morgan on the left side? I don't think it'll hurt. They've done it before.
This would be the week too, because this is not a pass rush that you're super afraid of. And the Ravens have had problems creating pass rush. They're a blitz team because they don't have individual pass rushers that scare you. The Vikings just put one of their key pass rushers is looked like he's going to have surgery and miss the rest of the season. So, maybe this is the stretch where you see, does Jordan Morgan have something to offer here? We talked about this in the open. I don't want to repeat too much of it, but I'm interested to see, because they've had these decisions before, Lily. 2020, they had some decisions to make with David Bakhtiari. 2021, they had some decisions with David Bakhtiari again, unfortunately. And I don't know that they made the right decisions here. So there's a lot of questions, I think, moving forward with this offensive line. I do want to get to some of the positives, though, because I felt like Jordan Love, yet again, starts this game playing just lights out football. If he'd have been protected in the second half, I have no doubt that he would have continued to play like that. Is he reached the point this year where you go, he's one of those guys where if you have him, you have a chance every week? Like, has he reached that level for you?
I think so. I know a lot of people will knock them for their inability to put up a point in those last 3 drives in the fourth quarter. They had opportunities, they could not capitalize. So I think a lot of people are knocking Jordan Love in the offense for that. But at the end of the day,
by the way,
who
he
would you
had
rather
no
have?
shot on most of those drives. There's just someone in his face at the top of his drop every single time. The Broncos smelled blood in the water on those drives.
And that's why they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. That's just what's going to happen on the road.
Yep.
But I think when you have a guy like Jordan Love, you always have a chance, right? Just the scrambling ability, the recognition now, the ability to hit those fadeaway throws on his back foot. Like, it's very Aaron Rodgers-esque in some ways, right? And now his ability to scramble and get some first downs. So I think you always have a shot when he's in there. I think, again, the national talking heads will say, oh, he couldn't lead him on a game-winning drive. But listen, you're playing the AFC leading team on the road. It's going to be tough. But at the end of the day, would you rather have Jordan Love or somebody else in the NFL at quarterback to try and engineer, a game-winning drive? I think you'd rather have Jordan Love.
Yeah, there aren't that many guys that I think would be on the list of like, yeah, I'd rather have that guy at the end of a game, especially if we're going to like normalize the protection, right? Like, if he had Zach Tom, you feel really good about his chances to go down and do that. And there've been a number of times this year where he's gone down and done that. As you look forward here to the Bears, is there any concern? I brought this up to our guys on the squad show. Playing at altitude, it wasn't a cold weather game, but it's still an altitude game. And now coming back and playing on a short week. I know the Bears played a really cold game. It's not supposed to be quite as cold this Saturday. Any concern about the quick turnaround coming from Denver, coming from altitude?
Yeah, I think that's always something those guys consider, but I know they have the right, physicians, everything, just to get these guys' bodies back in shape. Yeah, it's certainly difficult when you're playing a style of football like that against it's both really good teams, and they're going back and forth and back and forth. So hopefully these guys' bodies are ready. But it's a night game. I think it's going to be in the 40s during the day in Chicago. Going to be chillier, obviously, when the ball kicks off. So. I hope they're going to be ready, but they're going to have to be. I mean, there's no way around it. They're going to have to play on Saturday night. That's just what it is. But I think these guys are ready to make a statement and say, we can win a game without Micah. So that's really what's on the line this weekend is, can they do it after an altitude game? I think they can. Yeah,
the two teams are playing for competing narratives, right? Like, hey, we're for real, the Chicago Bears, and we're going to show it. And then the Packers are going, hey, we're still in this. Like, don't count us out yet. And I think that those are two pretty powerful motivating factors for both of these teams. Not that they need any extra motivation, Packers, Bears. And I think that makes this the perfect game to come after Micah Parsons is out if you're going to have to play shorthanded, because you can't not bring the energy. You can't not bring the juice to Packers, Bears in Chicago. Huge playoff implications against a team that really Matt LaFleur has owned since he has been the coach. I think he has not lost a game where his starting quarterback has started and finished the game. And so, like, both of these teams are going to want to kick the crap out of the other team. And that makes it fun for us to watch. I don't envy anyone that has to play in this game, because there is going to be some pads popping in this one for sure. But I think that's the best thing for the Packers, is to just, like, you come out of a breakup and you just you got to put yourself right back out there, right? You got to just jump right back out, go out to the bar with your friends, and go meet somebody. And that's what they're going to do right now. Please don't go out the night before in Chicago, Packers, before you go out to, I guess they'll stay in Green Bay on Friday, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to get right back out there and go try and prove once again, we're Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you thought there was bad blood between the Packers and Broncos with all the pregame stuff that went on,
Right.
and No, Jordan Love's head getting slammed down. I mean, it's going to be tenfold against the Bears. I mean, these teams do not like each other. We know the history between both. We know the comments that Ben Johnson made earlier in the year.
Chili handshake.
Chili handshake. There's a lot of bad blood between both franchises. You can talk about the reaction that people had to Micah Parsons going down. So there's a lot of outside noise going around this game. But at the end of the day, the team that wins potentially has a shot to clinch a postseason spot. That's what this team has to focus on. The winner of this game could potentially make the playoffs on Saturday. So, or this weekend. So they need to focus on getting a win. And again, it was a very feisty game in Denver. But the Packers, they got to know you got to play a lot smarter, be a lot smarter, not get those unnecessary flags on Saturday.
And that was an issue in the Bears game as well. They were lucky to win that game despite some of those penalties. The penalties have started to crop up again for this team. They were a problem again in Denver. Cannot be on the road against a good team. The winner of this game has the inside shot at the 2 seed in the NFL. And that is a big damn deal because you want to avoid the Rams for as long as you can. They look like the best team in the NFL right now. So hopefully next week we are talking about a win, Lily Zhao. And we get to enjoy the holidays as well. So we'll talk soon.
I love it. Thanks, Peter.
All right. Thanks to Lily for joining the show. Awesome to talk with her. We will be back tomorrow with a crossover Thursday. Our pal Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears back again for all of this. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Packers, our squad show tonight, 7:00 Central Time, Lambeau time. Live on our YouTube channel. Don't miss that. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Packers so you get all the latest episodes, but also Locked On Packers on YouTube so you can watch us live. If you need a last-minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnPackers.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On NFL. And as always, stay Locked On Packers.